You for joining me for another sermon teaser. This coming Sunday, we're going to be looking at the altar of burnt offerings, and sometimes it's also called the bronze altar. But if you think about the temple structure, there was a fence surrounding the tabernacle, and that fence was 75 feet wide, 150 feet long. It was approximately the size of 4 tennis courts. The fence was nearly 8 feet tall, and you could not see through that fence. So when the Israelites looked at the tabernacle complex, all they would have been able to see was the top of the tabernacle and the smoke coming up from the altar of burnt offerings. There was only one entrance in the courtyard where the tabernacle was set up. And so as people came in through that one entrance, the first structure they would have seen was this altar of burnt offering, as the fire was burning and the smoke was rising up to the heavens. The altar was the largest piece of furniture in the entire tabernacle complex. It was 7 feet wide, 7 feet long, so it was a virtual square, and it was 4 feet high. And it had horn-like projections at each of the four corners. Now, as we think of those horn-like projections, what was the purpose of these horns? In 1 Kings chapter 1, Adonijah attempted to steal the throne away from Solomon, who was the rightful heir to the throne. He was the one that God had chosen to be that next Israel's king. And Adonijah was now under the threat of death by Solomon. And so in 1 Kings chapter 1, verse 50, we find Adonijah fleeing to the tabernacle complex, and he took hold of the horns of the altar. And the reason he did that was he was desperate in his plea for mercy. He wanted to save his life. And it was only a temporary reprieve for Adonijah, because as we read later on in 1 Kings, eventually his life was taken. But what are the horns that we take hold of as we seek God's mercy? And we take hold of the cross. And the cross, of course, is the place where Jesus paid for our sins. And so now, instead of wrath, we are shown mercy. And not a temporary mercy, but the everlasting mercy of God. And so this Sunday, we're going to be looking at the altar of burnt offering. I hope you'll join me. And if you want to do a little study beforehand, then you might want to look up Leviticus chapter 6, verses 8 through 13. Leviticus chapter 6, verses 8 through 13. And see what you can find out regarding how the priests were to serve at the altar of burnt offering. May God be with you throughout the remainder of this week, and I look forward to worshiping with you this coming Sunday. God bless.